Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Shkoyach. Wow. We are live in Teaneck. It's New Jersey, right? Yeah. Teaneck, New Jersey. Unbelievable. What an oilam. Thanks for hosting. Thanks to the rabbi. Thanks to Joel Mizrahi. Badner. Shkoyach. Is that you? No, that's not you. Not Badner. No, what's your name? Rubinov. Dad Rubinov. Oh, Dad Rubinov, you have yard side, no? Grandmother's yard side today. Okay, shkoyach for all the food, the Chinese and everything. Beautiful stuff. It's unbelievable. Go from place to place. Wherever I go, I see the same people. Mark Ashkenazi, Yossi Klein, Avi Sherman. Shkoyach. It's unbelievable. It's beautiful. Beautiful turnout. Here, you know what? Let me turn this YouTube around just to show the oilam. Whoever wants to see what's going on there. So we got Ushi over there. Michael Cohen, I mean. Stefansky. Okay. See, Shkoyach Dan, thanks. Did I put it back normal? Messed it up a little bit. Very interesting, just a cute little story. Yesterday, I didn't have my emails printed out, so I decided, I went on my email. There's like, 40 emails that I received between Friday and Motzei Shabbos. And I said, okay, whatever I pick, that's the one I'm going to read. So I picked one. And it turns out that the one that I picked, it was from, what was his name? Peretz Rappaport. And as I finished reading the email, he walked into the room. I thought it was very interesting. From all the people, different people from different parts of the world sent in emails, and he just happened to walk into the room in Bar Park. Nice coincidence. If he doesn't finish shots with us, he's in big trouble. I mean, it's a big sign from Hashem. So, Lilu Nishmasimi Mirosi Ruspas Mordechai. Only 5 sponsors today. Today's shuir sponsored Shmuel Melech ben Pesach in honor of the medical team at Greenwich Hospital last summer who made my refuah so comfortable, and Reb Eli and the shuir for helping me in my recovery. Anonymously for refuah shleima for Golda bat Miriam. By Dan Rubinov, here he is. Dan, grandmother, Miriam Leah Bas Avram Aaron, and grandfather, Yaakov Moshe ben Yosef Chaim. By the way, Dan Rubinov, I should really know his name inside out, but I'm terrible with names. You've been like in every single city. From Eretz Yisrael, from Ramat Bet Shemesh, the Kotel Siyum, where else? Far Rockaway, Miami. He was in the shuir Miami. You're a stalker, but kids are just a stalker. Okay, here we go. By the Rappaport family in honor of the yard side of Esther Chaya Bas Peretz. Paris HaChodesh, by Michael Benmeleh, in memory of, should I say? But Michael? In memory of his mother, Devora Faige Bas Shmuel, and father-in-law Menachem Mendel ben Elchanan, and in merit to make it to Uman Rosh this year. Reb Eli, Michael Benmeleh had a fire in his home, and his home is gone, I believe. Something like, I have to speak to him. I didn't speak to him yet. I want to give him a call. There's actually a GoFundMe page. It's not a good matzav over there. So we're talking about Michael. We didn't realize by Wednesday already there was a big thing. All right, 5th sponsor. Who's the 5th sponsor? The Kessler Family. Refuah shleima, Caliza Tova Bas Esther Groná, daughter, sister, cancer patient now diagnosed with COVID-19. Should have a refuah shleima, groona. Okay. Real quickly, dear Reb Eli, felt like a real schus for me and my wife to honor and attending the Shev Brachas. Thank you for sharing Simcha with all of us. Thank you for meeting all of us. Offer a picture for each and every one that came to introduce ourselves. It's a schus to see so many of us. Schus Harabim, Reb Yossi Klein, I'm not making this up here, says, Aaron Mark, who was in my class in a certain yeshiva, to name a few. I see you every day on Torah Anytime YouTube. To be able to see in person, which the person was a very chashuva. A highlight for me when I was dancing, it's geschmack to learn the daf. It's Take Geschmack, Chelchel Araischa, Menachem Braun, Baltimore. You know the guy? You yeshiva with him? Okay. Reuven Tawil. Thank you for inspiring me to learn the daf. I enjoy the shuir, Tiskla Mitzvahs. I wrap my lulav. Here we go. We have a couple of suggestions here. I wrap my lulav in a squeezed out paper towel, and it doesn't get moldy. A regular towel is too wet. Also, I believe the pronunciation is a bayi, not a baya. Shkoyach. I say it abaya. Too bad. This is how we did it in yeshiva. That's how it is. Here in Manchester, UK, this works very well for me. I don't know how well it would work in Israel because I take a plastic bag, just short it, basically an arava bag, and I put 1 inch of water in the bottom. He sent me a picture, but I didn't have time to print it out. Put the whole basket, lulav, aravas, and hadassah together in the bag, making sure the ends of the stems are in the water. This is the way I've managed every year to keep homegrown aravas fresh till Shana Rabbah. Okay, I like the paper towel one better. Water, if it falls down, it gets everywhere. Don't put the hadassim in a wet paper towel. Put them just in a tin foil and sprinkle here and there in the foil, drops of water, and then put them in the fridge. You see what's going on here? One guy says put in a paper towel. The next guy says put in a towel. The other guy says put in water. This guy says don't put it in it. So now we're confused. Okay, that's like a typical Gemara. We have 4 shittas here. You do it every day, except of course in Shabbos, all the best. You, the Herzog, the guy who started listening to you for the free Gemara to start Sukkah and continues to listen to Sruli Bornstein as well, as I've been for the last year and a half. Despite what some of your crew thinks, that Sruli is a competition, you're both highly complementary to each other, in my humble opinion. Otherwise, here's a good one. And I owe this person, or at least his brother, tremendous Hakar Satoiv. He set up a lot with the Shever Brachas. So this is Sruli Yitzkuitz. Agun Chodesh. It's a long one, so I have to skip around there. We're late. It was great to see so many people. At the Shever Brachas, we've been receiving 8 minute daf. I joined Kim Sechta. My brother Elchanan. That's the guy I have to say thank you to, right? He helped a lot with the Shever Brachas. He started going all Yehoshua errand price on me. Should I say it again? My brother Elchanan started going all Yehoshua errand price on me. It's in the dictionary now. Yeshua errand price on me, and got me to join MDY. After joining the live lunch and sharing the 5 times, I immediately felt that I've been part of the Chabur from the start. The love and non-judgmental respect everyone shares is nothing short of inspirational. Story 1. Erev Shabbos, I was by my in-laws this week, and I was showing them pictures of the daf in Zemer Hall in a huge crowd. My mother-in-law was so impressed that she turned to my father-in-law and said, Yitz, you're joining the daf. Minutes later, he's on a WhatsApp group. Story 2. Shabbos morning, Yochanan and I were in Simon Zellman's Siyum, and they made him Sechus Yuma for his father's second yard side. Explained to the lunch guest, Binyamin Auerbach, that I was going to the Kiddush, Bekitzer. By the time they got to the Kiddush, he already committed to do the daf. This Chabur is the most amazing pyramid scheme I've ever seen. But unlike a regular pyramid scheme that only generates profits for the new members, I believe this one generates profits from old and new alike. Oh my gosh, I can't read this one. He says that just like a Kohen Gadol is the shliach for the tzibur. I'm not saying you're a Kohen Gadol, but you're definitely a shliach tzibur. Tap into maybe Zoicha, Ksiv Chasima Toiva, Gula Shleima, together learn the Daf Mashiach b'Meher B'Yameinu. Your Talmud is Yitzku, it's Pias. I love learning a new Masechta every day. Gevaldik. Okay, guys, ready? Oh yeah. Tomorrow, you're all invited to the Cookie Corner in Lakewood. Live share in Lakewood. That is the place that I was born in. I have to go back. It's been 48 years. I need to go back to Lakewood. I was not born in the Cookie Corner, but my mother had a cookie from the Cookie Corner before she went to the hospital, she said. What time tomorrow? 9:30 in Lakewood. In the Cookie Corner, free cookies for those who come. We got Litzonim over here. All right, Givaldik. Everybody's with a fresh sense of humor. Wow, look at the oilam. Standing room only. I should turn around the video. Look at this. It's crazy. Unbelievable what's going on there in the corner. Okay. Very good. Guys, ready? So yesterday, we're talking about the Hadas Mitri. I actually mentioned that I had this Hadas Mitri. And the Gemara says that if most of the Hadas falls apart, 4 out of the 7, but you're left with 3 on each level, it's good. Now, by the way, I received an email of a guy by the name of Aaron Sittner, and he says that he happened to be, a very nice story. He wanted to see Reb Chaim Kanievsky, so he went on a bus at 1 a.m., he got to Bnei Brak, and he slept the entire night in the shul, Letterman, then he snuck into the minyan, he's a Kayan, so he happened to be right next to Reb Chaim Kanievsky, and he pulled out his flip phone, and this is the picture that he took of Reb Chaim Kanievsky. And as you can see in the picture, he has Hadas Mitzri. This Hadas right over here is fully loaded, 7 on each level. So what's interesting in this picture is that he's not holding, these are hands of 2 different people. I just covered it with this email. Massive esrog, which we learned was not the best in the world. What if it fall, whatever. I guess he held this as hodar. It seemed like it was a little bit of an issue. The Gemara says it's okay, but it seemed like there was somewhat of an issue. What if you have to switch hands, it might fall? Okay. But that's Hadas Mitzri. Omar Abaya, 3 lines down from Lamed Gimel Amud Aleph. From here you see, it's kosher. Here's a great picture, a close-up of Hadas Mitzri. 7 on one level. Here, once again, this is the level. You put a string here. It's all on one level. Pshita. What's the big chiddush? It has an additional name. It's not just called Hadas. It's called Hadas Mitzray. 2 pshatim in Rashi. Does it come from Mitzrayim or another pshat? But the bottom line is that it has an extra name. It has a Shem Levai. And maybe it's not kosher. Kamash Malon. Now, Taisus points out right away, what do you mean, Kamash Malon? Interesting. I saw, because I ran out of paper. Very good. I ran out of paper, so I printed Ruchan Kane's exhibition on another paper. But what's on the back? I just noticed it now. It's this Hadas. The Gemara thought that this should be Hadas. A droifa. What is it called? Hirduf. And the Gemara says it's a good Hadas because the leaves actually cover the entire branch. The reason why we don't use this is because it's poison, and you don't have anything in the Torah that we use as poison is used for a mitzvah. So as Taisvas, but it's called Hirduf. Hirduf is a Shem Levai. It has another name. And the Gemara had no problem with that. So you see that a Shem Levai is not a problem. Why all of a sudden now are we saying that a Shem Levai is a problem? Like, what is the big chiddush as Taisvas that we can use Hadas Mitzri that has an extra name? Yesterday it wasn't a problem. Why is it a problem today? Okay. The Torah says Eitz Avos, meaning it doesn't even say a name, it doesn't say Hadas. That we have from tradition, but we know it fits everything. If all the different qualifications that are needed for Hadas fit into these words, therefore it's a good Hadas. Avos means it's completely covered. It's a Hadas. So any type of Hadas, even Hadas Mitzri. Tanu Rabbanon Yavshu Roiv Olav. Most of, okay, this is the picture, 4 out of the 7 leaves fell off. Most of the leaves out of the 3 Hadasim, so it says Rashi, you have 3 Hadasim, it looks like this. Most of the leaves became dried up. They were dried up. And there are 3 nice leaves, then it's kosher. But it has to be on the top, like in the picture. But if it's in the center, like this, no good. By the way, I don't know, if I recall correctly, it just seems like the top usually goes bad before the bottom, no? It would be hard to have everything, because they're very thin. The top are smaller, easier to go. That's what I recall. I might be wrong. Niktam roishoy. If the top of the hadas is cut off, what if the top is cut off and then some sort of grape grows on the top? Basically, it repairs itself. Is that a problem? Because the problem with Niktam Roishoy, that's not hadar. It's not nice. It's not a beautiful hadas. It's cut. But now it repaired itself. Now, if you look at this picture, he says that nowadays we don't really have, like a grape growing on the top. It's more of a repair, the branch. So you can see it's a little interesting. Here's a nice hadas, and all of a sudden there's a repair. That's okay. It's kosher. It's not a problem of hadar. Boy Reb Yirmiyah. So now, Rabbi Isai, we're going to be talking about the concept of dichui for the rest of the Amud, basically. So dichui, Shalom Aleichem, Simon. Simon came in, I think, from Eretz Yisrael. Unbelievable. Yavaldik. He's the guy that brought 4 bottles of Castel. 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006. He's the guy. Shkoyach. Never tasted it, but I believe it's okay. I think it's going to be good at the right time. All right, wrong picture. Dichui goes like this. Dichui means something is rejected. So typically, I just pulled this out from a different place, drew it back in the day when we were learning about dichui. You have an animal that's owned by two people, partnership. And one of the two, Ruvain, designated his part, his yellow part, as a carbon. It's not a good carbon. Then he goes ahead in step 3 and he buys his partner's part off of him, and he decides to designate his partner's part also. He thought he's gonna fix the problem. So he makes the whole thing hegdish. It's not a carbon. Why? Because it was dachui. It was rejected. It was pushed off. At a given moment, at this point right over here, when he designated his half as a carbon, you can't designate half as a carbon. So the half was rejected. Once it's rejected for life. Another example. Let's say the mizbeach that you put the carbon on is missing a tiny stone. It's not smooth. Mizbeach is puzzle. So if you have a carbon that's ready to go into the mizbeach, at that moment, it's puzzle. You can't be marked of it because there's no mizbeach. So if you go and you fix the mizbeach, it's too late. That carbon that you shechted, throw in the garbage. It's dachu, it's pushed off forever. Ask the Gemara, do we say this concept by a mitzvah? You have a mitzvah that was pushed off for a moment. Is it pushed off forever? Can I use that mitzvah after I fix the issue? I fix the problem. Is it like a carbon? You hear the shayla? That's what we're going to be discussing now. Is there a dichui in a mitzvah? Could you push off a mitzvah forever? Now there's two types of dichui. We're going to see both of them. One is that it was never available and it just became available. That's the lighter one, that's the easier one. There's one that's even worse. It was a good mitzvah, it was pushed off. It was a good mitzvah, then pushed off, and then now it's good. Good, bad, good. That's worse than the first case, where it was just bad, it was born bad, you made it good. Now, let's see inside. If this hadas had a boo-boo in it, it was cut off on the top. Somehow it repaired itself on Yantif. In other words, the mitzvah was pushed off as soon as the top was cut. Now you want to repair it and you want to take away the problem. Do we say the same idea of dichu that we say by a carbon? Do we say it by a mitzvah as well? By a carbon, for sure we say it. Do we say this idea, this concept by a mitzvah? Says the Gemara, what's your question? I have a different raya, a different sugya. It's not kisov in his gala. A bird, after you shecht a bird, or a chaya, a deer, you have to cover its blood. You don't have to cover a cow's blood or a sheep's blood. But you have to cover a chaya knife. So if you do kaparas, a lot of people are yoytze the mitzvah then. They give them a little dirt, and they say the bracha, they do kisei adam. Here, I have a picture of a guy doing kisei adam, in case you want to know what it looks like. I guess it's probably a bigger mitzvah to do the kisei adam than do kaparas. Although, you'll ask people and they'll say no, kaparas is much bigger. But this is a mitzvah. Doiraisa, do kisei adam. So, what happens if you cover the blood, kisov in his gala, and became uncovered? Pater melachasais, you don't have to recover it. You covered it, you yaitz the mitzvah, finished. Kisov ruach, but if the wind came and covered it, threw some dirt on it, chayav lechasais, and we're going to see in a second, in the millisecond, it's talking about that it became uncovered. You don't have to cover something that's covered. When do you have to recover something that the wind covered? When it became uncovered again. So the wind covered the blood, then the wind came or whatever happened and it became uncovered. Now you're mechuyev to cover it. But if it didn't become uncovered, you don't have to, the wind is enough. When it became uncovered, again, why do you have to cover it with dirt? There's no mitzvah for you. Look at this blood. When the wind comes and covers it, at that moment, you are patur from covering it. So your mitzvah went away. Now your mitzvah reemerged. When? When it became uncovered. It's too late. That's dichu b'mitzvahs. your mitzvah was rejected. You don't have a chiyuv. You cannot invent a new chiyuv afterwards. What do you see from this? That you could invent. That by a mitzvah, once the mitzvah comes back again, you could do it. There's no rejection by mitzvahs. So the Gemara is asking, why are you asking questions about a hadas that got cut off and then it healed itself? I said that halacha by blood. There's no reason to bring any kashas from hadas. Says the Gemara, no, you can't prove anything from blood. Why? The Rapapa gufa mi bayale. Rapapa didn't know himself; he wasn't sure. Mifsha pashale, we don't know him. Rapapa mifsha pashale the indichayat mitzvahs. Did he say a clear-cut halacha that there's no rejection by mitzvahs at all? Loishna lekula, even by blood. In other words, you could go ahead and do it. Loishna lechumra, sorry. By Loishna lekula, over here by lulav. Let me just look at Rashi real quickly. Loishna lechumra, Loishna lekula, keider Rabbi Eli kosher. It's possible. And certainly Loishna lechumra, by the blood. You would have to, even lechumra. Lechumra means that you would have to go ahead and cover the blood. Lekula, I could use a hadas like that. Yeah? So lekula means I have an hadas that for a minute it wasn't roy for a mitzvah. I couldn't use it. And then all of a sudden it grew a little bit and it covered up the cut. Now I can use it. The fact that I can use it, I don't have to go to the store buy another hadas. What is that? A chumra, a kula? That's a kula. I can use hadas even though it was pushed off and rejected. So the question is, can I use this idea of ein dichu b'mitzvahs, even lekula, even to use hadas? Or maybe it's only lechumra that I'm mechayiv you to cover the blood for a second time. To be machmer is not a big kunz, but to be mekel is a much bigger thing. If I use this idea, this concept, ein dichu b'mitzvahs, there's no rejection by mitzvahs at all, no matter what. A mitzvah is never rejected. So I could use hadas that healed itself, even though it's a kula. Or perhaps Rapapa says that you use this ein dichu b'mitzvahs only l'chumra, only where it doesn't hurt us to do it. So you'll cover the blood again, not a big deal. But the kula I can't use this hadas. Teiku. Interesting that the word teiku over here is not 100% accurate. Usually teiku means we have to wait until Mashiach comes. In fact, we're going to see that the Gemara is paishet at least half of the question on Amud Beis. Says the Gemara, perhaps this is a machlokes tanoi. The what? Ovar velikton pasul. It says that if you have a bunch of berries on your hadas, you could remove them and make your Rosenberg says all the way from Muncie. All the way. I understand the island comes to restaurants all the time from Muncie, yeah? True? Not? True. So we had these berries on the hadas. There's no chairs. So come sit next to me. Wow. Joel, what do you think this is? You think this is Chicago? 20 people are going to show up. Anyway, so you have berries on hadas. You cannot use the hadas. It's not hadar. So what do? You take the berries off. But if it's already yontif, you're not allowed to take the berries off. Why can't you take the berries off? B'takemana. You're not allowed to fix the kli. So what happens if you took the berries off on yontif? Pasul. Reb Eli ben Tzadik. And Chacham say it's kosher. Why? What's the machlokes? What's the svar of the machlokes here? Savrua the kula malul ben. So I try to make it a little simpler. It's not a hard sugya, very, very simple actually. But what we're going to see is there are three things going on here. And if you take away any one of these three things, then you're going to come up with one idea. If you have all three in line, then it's okay. What do we have? We have the idea that we're talking about yesh dichu b'mitzvahs or ein dichu b'mitzvahs. Can a mitzvah be rejected? Then we have another thing. This is the only picture whatever. do you have to bundle up the three minim, the lulav, hadassim, and aravas? Are you mechuyev to? And the third idea is the idea of tasav leim and asur. You all recall that it's asur to be chayted begadish, meaning create a cavity in a haystack, because what you're doing, you're not putting the schach on. The schach was there before you actually created the cavity. That's tasav leim and asur. Where is that halacha said? By a sukkah, because it says sukkah is tasa. So that's where we learned the halacha of tasav leim and asur. The question is, do we compare a lulav and hadassim, the whole thing, to a sukkah? Can we learn this idea of tasav leim and asur by a lulav? Now, if I remove one of these things, if I say that I do not learn from a sukkah, then this whole pyramid falls down. And if I say that a lulav doesn't need an eged, then the whole thing falls down. And if I say that you don't need eged, that yesh dichoy, so let's see inside. That's the whole sugya really. The Gemara is going to start off saying, perhaps this is the machlokes, yesh dichoy. The Gemara says, no, this is the machlokes. Or you know what? This is the machlokes. I can't prove that this top guy is the machlokes because there's other ways to learn the machlokes. Maybe the machlokes is, do I need an eged at all? Or maybe the machlokes is, do I learn a lulav from a sukkah? So I don't have a proof that this is the machlokes. The Gemara wants to say, leima, the first words, leima ketanai. Perhaps this idea that we're discussing now, whether mitzvahs are rejected forever or not, is machlokes tanai. And the Gemara is going to say, no. We could be toilet machlokes in something completely different. Maybe the machlokes is this, or maybe the machlokes is this. Says the Gemara, okay, so you have this machlokes. If you went ahead and you pulled off the berries on Yontif, can you use that hadas? Says the Gemara, the kulal no. Perhaps everybody agrees lulav ein tzarich eged. This middle guy, everybody agrees. You don't have to bundle them up. V'im tin tzaleim et tzarich eged. Then if you say everybody agrees you have to, lo yalfinu misukah d'chsiv ba tasav leim and asui. Then I don't learn from sukkah over here. Only by sukkah it says tasav leim and asui, not by lulav. So I don't learn. My lab So then what is the machlokes if I don't have these two things? The man, the puzzle of Amrin Yesh Dichoy, it's a mitzvahs. The one that says that you cannot use this hadas, even though you pulled off the berries, but when did you pull them off? On Yontif, too late. Because as Yontif came in, the minute, shkia, whatever it says, whatever you want to call it, that minute, your hadas was puzzle, because it had a bunch of berries. Then on Yontif, you went ahead and you pulled the berries off. Yesh Dichoy, it's a mitzvahs. It was already rejected. You cannot fix a mitzvah that was already rejected. Maybe that's the machlokes. Uman the machshir, and the one that says that it's kosher this hadas even though you pulled the berries off on Shabbos. There's no such thing. When it comes to the mitzvah, there's no dichoy. So what if it came in, Shabbos came, Yontif came, and there were berries? I fixed it on Shabbos. Says the Gemara, loy, that's not the machlokes. The machlokes is not this, if yesh dichoy and dich on top. The kula loy amrin the yesh dichoy mitzvah. Perhaps, always, perhaps, I don't know. But maybe I'm going to be doicha you. Maybe everybody says, loy amrin yesh dichoy mitzvahs. Once Yontif came in and there's a berry, it's not a big deal. I can fix it. So what is the machlokes? The whole machlokes is down here. Do I compare a lulav to a gadish? The idea of tasav leim and asui. Why? Because now you have to say like this. Very pashut, very nice. Rashi points out. When do I make the bundle? I have to do an eged. I have to tie my hadassim and aravas together. When do I do that? I must do it before Yontif. Why? Because I can't make a knot on Yontif. You have to make knots. We're going to see in a second. You have to make two nice knots. So I have to do it before Yontif. I have to do it before Yontif. So now I have a hadas inside my knot, which is puzzle. And then I took off the berries. It's just like making a cavity after I have the schach already on top. I'm taking off the berries and all of a sudden I create a new hadas. Yeah? You're holding? Some of you give me this look. What is going on here? It's complicated stuff. Not complicated. Easy. You have a hadas that's puzzle inside the eged. It's already tied up. So it's already too late to do anything. Now I'm making the hadas kosher by removing the berries. It's too late. It's already in the eged. That's what we're talking about. It says, do you compare hadas to sukkah? That's exactly the question. That is the question. Exactly what you're saying. Even though it doesn't say tasav leim and asui b'hadas, do I compare hadassim to a sukkah? If I compare it, then it's a problem. If I don't compare it, it's not a problem. That's exactly machlokes. You hold like the other man, the Amar. Gewaldig. Why? I don't know that. I think the opposite. Tasavul Manasa should be by everything, not just by Sukkah. And we say by tzitzis. We say by a lot of things. Tasavul Manasa goes in the whole Torah. We learn by tzitzis. You can't just snip it afterwards and say, oh, you have to create. We had all sugya, we had all. Fine. I don't know. I don't remember what the halach is. I think the halach is tasva everywhere, but I could be wrong, as usual. Says the Gemara. You see the words v'hacha b'meilaf lulav misukkah kamifligi. Do we learn a lulav, which also means adas, by the way, from a sukkah? Exactly, that's the machlek. Or isvir long lulav tzorach eged. That is exactly the question, a different question, not the third thing, but the middle thing. Do you have to make an eged? What's the difference? Because if you don't have to bundle it, so even though you bundle it and it still has grapes, you can remove the grapes on Yontif. You're not creating anything because the bundle is nothing. You don't have to do a bundle. The bundle is stam for beauty. And it's a machlokes tanoim. The sanya lulav bein ogud bein shenogud kosher. Here, one mandama says you don't have to bundle it. Reb Yehuda Omer ogud kosher, sheinu ogud pasul. Reb Yehuda is the one that says you must bundle it. My time with the Reb Yehuda. Why does Reb Yehuda say you have to bundle it? Yov the gira legira by good say by Korban Pesach. You see this? This is a bundle of ezav. This is what you brought on the first Korban Pesach. This is what you brought together with the Korban Pesach. And it says over there, uksiv ulekachtem agudas ezav. Mala uksiv hacha ulekachtem. It says the same words, just like this. In the picture, you see it's a bundle, it's tied together. So too, you have to tie the hadasim and the aravas to the lulav. Anytime the Gemara says Rabbanan don't hold of this, or somebody doesn't hold of Gzeir Shava, the simple explanation is because Gzeir Shava comes by tradition, and they did not have that tradition. They cannot just make up Gzeir Shava because somebody else said so. If Rebbe Yehuda holds a Gzeir Shava, that's his thing. Maybe he learned it from his Rebbe. We did not hear from our Rebbe. We cannot say it. We had this exact Gemara word for word. So if so, what does it mean? There's a brayso that says there's a mitzvah to tie up your lulav together with adasim and haravas. Either it's a chiyuv or you don't have to. What does it mean? It's a mitzvah. Mani, Rebbe Yehuda kilo yogdei my kosher. Rebbe Yehuda says you're mechuyev to, so it's not a mitzvah, you have to. Rabbanan my mitzvah kovid. And if it's according to Rabbanan that don't have this gzeir shava lekachtem, so it's zero. By tying it, you don't accomplish a thing. La'ilam Rabbanan u'mitzvah mishum ze keli v'anveyu. There's a mitzvah, and we have to take this to heart. There's a mitzvah in the Torah to beautify all your mitzvahs. All your mitzvahs. Your lulav, your esrig, your sukkah, your Shabbos meal. And I want to say, I don't know if it's true, your Torah, your Daf Yomi. Beautify your Daf Yomi. How do you beautify Daf Yomi? You go to good cheer. No, you do chazara. You add another one. Here, give me this. The Baal Mechaber says, hey, Michael, come here. Mike, come here. I want. Yeah, get over here, Michael. The Baal Mechaber Sefer is here. Come, Michael. Look, there's a lot of work. Has pictures, everything. Unbelievable. Shkoyach, Michael. How long have you been with us?
Since brachas.
Brachas, beautiful. And you want to see a real sefer? He's mechaber. This is his father. His father was the mashgiach in Telz, Cleveland. Tremendous gadol. And they just came out with a sefer. Shkoyach for the present. Anyway, by the way, Michael, I was by my sister-in-law's house, and I had my brother's house, and I had your book in the car. So, and I saw my sister-in-law outside. So I said, listen, take this book inside and run inside, say, refuah, look what I found in the bookstore. So she comes running in. She goes, refuah, you're not going to believe it. She played the game. It was beautiful. And he's like, what? Art scroll, Gaiva, what is going on here? And this is the greatest book ever. It took him 5 minutes, and he's reading every word. He flipped it over. It's unbelievable. Then all of a sudden he says, Hilchos Lashon Hara. What? Okay, anyway, it worked great. Says the Gemara, Zeh Keli Van Veyu. Now, I just want to point out something that I was a little shocked to see this. I have to do more research. I'm just telling it to you to throw a wrench into everything that you guys know. We're talking about if it's a mitzvah to be ma'aged, not mitzvah to be ma'aged. So, the Shulchan Aruch paskins like the Mordechai, the Rishonim talk about this, that you have to make 2 knots. So the big question is, that I never thought about until today, what about a kashiklach? How's that a knot? You put Yarova in, it comes right out. So some actually say it's no good. The Mishnah Berurah brings that it's okay, but it seemed like that it's not the best in the world. I never thought it's even an issue. Everybody in the world uses a kashiklach. Sfardim don't use it. Very nice. Because Sfardim go according to the Shulchan Aruch, they have to tie it too. They don't use it at all, it's puzzle. Beautiful. Oh, I'm in a Sephardi shul now, so now I know. Yo, maybe us Ashkenazim should start. Because the Mishnah Berurah says it's okay, but it doesn't seem like it's the best idea. Another thing that I saw, and this I really want to look up more, is that it's brought down that even if you use a kashiklach, you should make sure that the bottom stems of the arovas and the adasim touch each other and the lulav. There shouldn't be a chatzitza, a complete chatzitza. So that means my beautiful kashiklach that I was talking about is probably garbage. I don't think it doesn't touch on the bottom. But anyways, you should make sure it touches. As I state, look, I'm not a Rav, I'm not pasking, I'm just telling you something that I saw today. It says you should make sure that everybody agrees, you have to make sure that the bottom stems at least touch each other, the lulav, the adasim, the arovas, because the kashiklach itself is a chatzitza. Fine. Next. No, you take off the knots. The knots. This is, I found this Gemara very interesting because Rav Chizda says something in the name of Rav. Rabbeinu HaGadol, Rashi says it means Rav, the famous Rav. Again, Rav, the first, Amoira, last, Tana. This is what he said. Hashem should give him health. These grapes, these, what do they call them? Berries. These berries that are growing on the hadas. The only time that we have a problem is that if they're in one place. But if they're all over the place like this, 2-3 different places, kosher. You hear what Rav Chizda says? A whole statement that the Gemara says never existed. I find that very hard to understand. To me, it's hard to understand. This is what Rabbeinu HaGadol said, and Hashem should help him. The problem is if the berries are in one place, like this. But if the berries are in 2 places like this, no problem. Amalei Rava. So his son-in-law Rava says, Daf Yomi Beis. What happened? Asks Rava, it's like a leopard, it's all spotted, it's ugly. It's worse. If it's in one place, it's great. In 3-4 places, that should be a problem. Elo. We have to flip it, we have to say something completely different. It's such a bomb question that it can't be that Rav said it. That what? He didn't mention black at all. All of a sudden, his statement was about black berries. If they're black, no good. It's one of the, I don't know if we have other places like this in Shas. It's not like, it didn't even start. It's not even the same sentence, not in the same topic. Somewhat in the topic of berries, but not what he said. Okay, now we're not talking about mekoymos, we're talking about color now. If they're green berries, it blends in, then it's kosher. Now, we just turned to Amud Beis, sponsored by the MDY Tehillim Group. For all those who need shidduchim, refuahs, and yeshuas, please join tehillim.8mindaf.com. Omer Apop. Yeah. It is harder. That is the issue. It's not beautiful. But if it's green, it's beautiful. Or, it doesn't take away from the beauty. Amar Papa. Adumois kishchayra is damyon. Red berries, like these guys, are like black. Domer Chanina. Haidam shachar odoim hu el shalaka. In Masechtas Nida, it says that there are 5 types of blood. One of them is black, because black indeed is red. It's just something happened to it. So you see, it's from the same family. Red and black is the same family. Menachem, red grapes or red berries are like the black berries, and they are puzzle. If you remove the berries, then the hadas is kosher. The matin weimas. When did this happen? If it happened before you put it together, you bundled it up, pshita. What is the chiddush? Of course, it doesn't have berries anymore. Elo lebasal delagde. It happened afterwards. Dochmi karuhu. If it happened after you did an eged, so this is dochmi kara. It never had a chance. There wasn't a moment in this hadas life that it was kosher. It was always dochmi kara, and then you fixed it. Which is, as I explained all in the beginning, a better step than if it was available. It was good mitzvah, bad, good. Good, bad, good is worse than never available for the mitzvah, like in this case. Here you have a case where hadas grew with berries, so it was never available for the mitzvah, and then you put it into an eged, you tied it up to your lulav, and then you remove the berries. So it's dachim ikara. So if so, tifshoid mi no dachim ikara lehavi dachim. And you see, it's okay. La halach, it's okay. We went through the whole cheshbon. If he didn't put it in a bundle, then what's the problem? If he put it, he already tied it, it's still good. Why is it good? You have a case of dachim ikara, you have a hadas that was never kosher, you already put it, you already tied it to the lulav, and it's kosher if you remove the berries. So you see from here, clear cut l'chayra, that dachim ikara lo yavi dachim. It doesn't push it off forever. Loilam basud agdei. No, it happened after you tied it and before Yantif. Before Yantif. Because Savar Eged has monab'almahu. Taking it together is nothing. You didn't do a mitzvah. You were preparing it for a mitzvah. Preparing for a mitzvah didn't do anything. You didn't say that. So you didn't start the mitzvah yet. So then I could remove the berries, and once Yantif comes in, that's when the mitzvah starts. But just because I tied it before Yantif doesn't do anything. And you cannot remove the berries on Yantif. What if you do remove the berries? Kosher. That is pashut in the words. It says, do not remove the berries. You shouldn't remove the berries on Yantif. Why? What's the reason you can't remove berries on Yantif? Tikkun manak, tikkun kli. So it's a kli. What is it? What does tikkun kli mean? I'm not allowed to remove the berry because I removed the berry, then I have a good hadas, which is a good kli. But it's a good hadas. Because if it's not a good hadas, then I would be able to remove the berry because I didn't do anything. Yeah? I'm not allowed to fix a kli. That means it's a kli. That means that if I did fix it, it remains a kli that I could use. Because if I can't use it, then I didn't fix anything. So, ha'avar v'likton, my kosher. Obviously, it's kosher. So then, the ashchoremas. When exactly did these berries become black? If they were black before Yantiv, dachmi karu. Then it never stood a chance. When Yantiv came in, it was already puzzle. So tifsha mina, I can prove from here, dachmi karu delay avidachi. You see that I'm allowed to. I'm not allowed to, but if I pull the berries off, it becomes kosher, even though as Yantiv came in, it was already black. It was already no good. No, what happened was the berries became black on Yantiv. So then, Nira, it was a good hadas, vinitcha, then it became bad. It became puzzle hadas. Why? Because it became a black berry. Shmas mina, nira vinitcha, chaz vinira. One of the two things we're going to be able to prove here. And that's what the Gemara says. You're right. We're able to prove one of the two. Either we're going to be able to prove dachim ikara, that the berries were black before Yantif, and I'm allowed to, not allowed to, it's usher, but if I do, I fixed this hadas. Or I'm going to prove even worse. I'm going to prove that the berry became black on Yantif. In other words, it was a good hadas Erev Yantif. As Yantif came in, it was a good hadas. So it was nira, it was good. Nitcha, it became black, it became puzzle. And then I fixed it illegally, but I fixed it. So it's nira, nitcha, nira. It's good. There's no dichut. Even in the worst case. They became black Erev Yantif. So at least, okay, so if it became black on Yantif, then I'm going to be able to prove one thing. So I'm going to be able to prove the easier case, at least one. I'm going to be able to prove that if this hadas was never roi to be hadas, because it was always black before Yantif, and I fixed it by removing it on Yantif, which I shouldn't have, but I did anyways, I fixed it. So, what it says on Amud Aleph, Teiku, that I don't know the answer, I only don't know one thing. I don't know if nira, nitcha, nira, by mitzvahs, remains pushed off forever, rejected forever. But I do prove from this brisa that when it comes to mitzvah, I don't push off a mitzvah if it was never available. If the hadas was black, the berries were black, so this hadas was never raw for the mitzvah. It was dachui mikara, dachui throughout its entire life. When Yantav came in, I fix it, then it's a good fixing. It's considered loy nidcha. You don't push it off. In that case, the other case it was a good hadas. It went bad, and then you made it good. Nira nidcha. That I don't have proof for. So one thing you see, that a mitzvah is a little different than a carbon. We started off saying the sugya that when it comes to a carbon, once a carbon is pushed off, it's pushed off for life. But when it comes to mitzvah, it's not pushed off for life. Okay. V'im mi'atan kosher. No, we said this. Because of it, no. So eged has one about no. Oh yeah. Torah Abana. Smack in the middle of the page almost. Maybe a couple lines below the middle. You're not permitted to remove the berries on Yantav. Mishum Reb Eliezer, Reb Shimon, or Reb Elazar, Reb Shimon Amru. Mimatim, you could remove the berries on Yantav. How could you remove a berry on Yantav when you're fixing the kli, according to Reb Elazar? Or Reb Ashi, he picked the berries because he wanted to eat them. He was desperate. Reb Eliezer, Reb Shimon, and Reb Eliezer, Reb Shimon, this is the famous Reb Eliezer, Reb Shimon. His father is the famous Reb Shimon in Masechta Shabbos. Famous machlokes throughout Shabbos between Reb Yehuda and Reb Shimon. Now what? The Omar, Dover Shem Miskaven Mutar. Where's that picture? Every time, what? What's the picture? Anybody know the pictures? Who said bench? The bench. The bench. If you want to move a bench from point A to point B, and you might create a groove in the ground, Reb Shimon says it's okay. Why? Because you don't intend to make grooves in the ground. You're not a farmer. You're just trying to move a bench and it's heavy. So it's davar she'ein miskaven. Something I don't have intent for is okay on Shabbos. So over here also, I don't have intent to fix the hadas. I have intent to eat berries. I'm just picking berries. You're allowed to pick a grape off a cluster of grapes. So I'm picking grapes, and all of a sudden I'm left with this, whatever it's called. Okay, and that happens to be a mitzvah. That's fine. That's Dov Shem Miskaven. Ask the Gemara, the famous Psikresh Yamos. A lot of people get nervous when they hear this. Very, very simple. Psikresh Yamos means, the way you read it is Psikresha. If I'm going to chop off an animal's head, V'lo Yamos, he's not going to die. 100% he's going to die. So if I pluck the berries off hadas, 100% my hadas is going to become kosher. So I cannot say that Reb Shimon says in that case that it's mutter. You can't say, oh, Dav Shem Miskaven, I had no intent. What do you mean you had no intent? 100% you're going to have a kosher hadas, then it's aser. If 100% this kid is going to create a furrow in the ground, he's going to dig, then it's aser. Says the Gemara, this so the Gemara says here, unbelievable svara. Unbelievable. If you create a furrow, you create a kli on Shabbos, you create a cup, so there's no way out of it. You created this. But I didn't have intent. I just pushed the button in the factory and I wanted to scrape my finger and to push the button and out came a cup. But you knew that if you push the button, this is going to come out. It's usher. Hadas is different. The Gemara says here a very, very interesting thing. Hadas is only a kli when I need it. Hadas by itself, if I don't need it, that's the sheet of Rashi. Taisus argues. If I don't need it, then it's not a kli. It's just a bunch of leaves. It happens to be I have enough hadasim in my lulav. I don't need this at all. All I need are the grapes. We're talking about a mitzvah here. Hadas is not a physical thing. It's not a kli or not a kli. You can't tell me, you ask a non-Jew, is this a kli? He'll laugh at you. Well, it was a bunch of leaves. It's not a kli. Elamai, you need it for your lulav. So if you need it for your lulav, it became, you fix something. But if you don't need it for your lulav, you didn't fix anything. It's hard to understand. I understand it's a deep lumdisha thing. Taisus says, but at the end of the day, you fixed it for somebody else. Somebody else could grab it. I don't know what. Fine. That's what the Gemara says here. Think about this svar. It's a very interesting svar. Tana Rabbana. Huturug agdoi biyantav. Here, this picture happens sometimes to us. Halacha l'maisa. What do you do? This became undone. Oigdoi ka'aguda shel yerek. Now we said, according to the svar in the Shulchan Aruch, you have to do 2 knots. Mamish kesher kayama. But it's yantav. You're not allowed to make a kesher kayama. So what are you going to do? You just like a gartel, like a chassid does in a gartel. Wraps it around, and then sticks one end in, right? That's enough. That's a agudah shel yerek. V'amai, what's the problem? Let him make a bow, like a shoe, like tie your shoes. Comes out easy. You're allowed to tie your shoes on Shabbos. Why? It's much stronger than just putting in one end. And it's not a kesher shekayam. It comes out easy. Hamani Rebbe Yehudi. The reason I can't do that is because it goes according to Rebbe Yehuda. The Omar Anivek Shir Ma'al Yasihi, that it's not mutter to make an aniva. You wouldn't be able to tie your shoes according to Rebbe Yehuda because that's considered a regular knot. As the Gemara, it can't be Rebbe Yehuda. Rebbe Yehuda Eged Ma'al Yasihi. According to Rebbe Yehuda, it's not enough just to wrap around. Rebbe Yehuda says, Boye Eged, you need to tie a lulav together with hadas, and that's what he said. It's Rebbe Yehuda that says this. So how's it enough to just do aguda of a yerek, which is nothing? Okay, he holds like Rebbe Yehuda, and he doesn't hold like Rebbe Yehuda. He holds that lulav ain't sarach eged, so you don't need a real eged, you don't need a real knot. But he holds right. He holds like Rebbe Yehuda that knotting it, the reason why he says just do it like a yerek and don't make a bow, because he holds like Rebbe Yehuda that a bow is a real knot and it's also doing Shabbos. But he doesn't hold that you need a neged. You don't need to, he just doesn't want his aravas and adasim to fly apart, so just wrap it around and stick it in nicely. Should we do the Mishnah? Let's do the Mishnah. Arava gzulavi veishapsula. We know these halachas already because we learned it twice already. We learned it once by a lulav and once by a das. Same exact halacha by a rava. If it's stolen or dry, it's puzzle. Says lochem. Yavesh is not other. If it's avodah zara, they worshipped it, or the whole city, or 51% of the city does avodah zara. You have to burn everything. So we have a problem. Tu say michdas shura. You're missing from the shir. How many tefachim does a rav have to be? 3 tefachim. You don't have 3 tefachim because it has to be burned. Nikdam roisha. If the top part of it. Now Rashi just points out the obvious. Why does the Mishnah repeat the same exact thing that we said by Das, same thing by Lulav? The answer is because each one has halachas that you don't have by the other, so they had to repeat. You're right, the first few halachas are the same, but then afterwards we come into Nifritzu Aleh that we had. I bet you we have pictures of this. The Gemara says we should make a bow tie, Aravi Yevesha, Psula, we know what that looks like. It's my Arava every year. Nikdam roishoi. This you have a lot. They sell this in the store. You have to be careful that it shouldn't look like this. That the top part shouldn't be snipped off. You make sure that there's a nice little leaf growing there, a little red bud, whatever it is, but not just snipped. Okay? Very important. Vatzavtzifa psula. What's tzavtzifa? This is nifrit zo'aleh, very pashat. Some of the leaves are missing. Okay? Tzavtzifa looks something like this, he says. Okay? Pashat. It's not a rava. Psula. Kemusha, if it's slightly dried out, like this, like so. Vishanashu mixes aleh, some of the leaves fell off. Vishal bal, we're going to see what the Gemara says. What a bal is. Sheiro. Here we go. Just a few of the. Four. Avram Yosef Mechana. The official Mishnah was sponsored by official refuah shleima for Avram Yosef ben Chana. Okay, fine. We'll stop over here. Have a wonderful day, Rabbi Isai. Thanks for joining. It's been such a pleasure. Mamish, a big chizuk. Thanks for the chizuk. Seriously.